1. This conference is being recorded. Welcome to Blog Talk Radio in high fidelity. Tell me every day, nothing's gonna come my way. Searching for clues that I hope to find. Want something that's gonna last. I wanna live and forget the past. I know this change is gonna do me good. I know this change is gonna do me good. Even though it hurts me now, I know this change is do me good. Wonder what it will blow. You got a clue to let me know. Don't hold it back now. Give me a sign. Tell me something really good. Like a dream, you know you should. I know this change is gonna do me good. I know this change is gonna do me good. Even though it hurts me now, I know this change is gonna be good. Everything changes in its own way. I'm feeling better today. I'm gonna look back at all of this someday. I'm gonna I know it hurts me I know the change will come even though it hurts me I know the change will do me
Aloha. Good evening. This is Aloha live out of Flagstaff, Arizona, for Spiritual Illness Productions on Blog Talk Radio and freeconferencing.com, and Ustream, establishing and maintaining right relationships through human bodies. Aloha. Welcome to tonight's Aloha Live. Tonight we're talking with Bill Schroeder and Jack Roth, all the way out of Florida. Aloha, Bill and Jack.
Aloha. Hey, how are you?
Oh, good. Thank you very much. And I also want to give a big shout to Spiritual Fashionista here in the chat room as well. Thank you for stopping by. Tonight, we're talking about Unknown Down. And just to let you know, what did I do? Oh, here it is. Unknown Down, a Cold War incident involving UFOs over South Florida and the subsequent cover-up of the U.S. military. Unknown Down, by Bill and Schroeder and Jack Roth. On the night of the 31st of 1967, a series of strange events occurred in South Florida involving several unidentified flying objects. U.S. and Cuban military personnel and hundreds of civilian witnesses. Bill Schroeder, a young Army fire control operator at a B Battery Hawk missile site in Key West, tracked several objects on radar traveling at impossible speeds. These bogies evaded both U.S. and Cuban fighter jets, scrambled to intercept them. Even more disturbing, the UFOs emitted an electromagnetic countermeasure that disabled B batteries, electronic surveillance, and caused the destruction of one of the Cuban MiG missiles, or MiGs, to-21S. told by his superiors that this incident was part of a NORAD drill and not to discuss it with anyone. Schroeder lived with this secret for years before finally coming forward with his story. Author Jack Roth shares Schroeder's incredible account along with other witness testimony and details that have been brought to light over the years as a result of Schroeder's persistent research. Unknown Down also includes interviews with former military personnel who experienced similar encounters and UFO researchers who point to the significance of cases involving military missile bases, military witnesses, confirmed radar acquisitions, and other tangible evidence supporting the existence of UFOs. Retired law enforcement investigator, private investigator, and U.S. Army military police Bill Schroeder, now the MUFON State Section Director for the Tampa Bay, Florida area, and works with the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena, or NICAP. And we also have, again, a Vice President of Creative Development at J3 Films. Jack Roth also wrote and produced a pilot episode for the television show Hauntings, A Journey into the Unknown. For more on Bill Schroeder and Jack Roth and the book Unknown Down, you can go to Amazon.com, and there you'll find a book, a copy of the book that you can purchase as well. In the meantime, we're going to come back and talk to these guys and check this out, all this information out, and get into detail. In the meantime, I do want to give a big aloha to all of our underwriters, beginning with Mahadikini Lore, www.mahadikini.com. Mahadikini Lore's life has been a personal journey exploring sexuality and spirituality for over 20 years. She's a certified tantric counselor and a certified mind sound teacher. Mahadikini Lore is also a graduate of Margonan year-long Skydance and Tantric Facilitator Training Program, as well as a current member of the American Association of Sex Educators, Counselors, and Therapists Club, as well as a charter member of the Association of Sexual Energy Professionals. She regularly attends trainings and conferences to keep current with the latest research and information on sexual education. Now, we also have the 90-Day Ascension Journey at www.90dayascensionjourney.com. When you sign up for the 90-Day Ascension Journey, you will be facilitated with defining and redefining your soul or true life purpose. You will be assisted with finding out what Ascension means to you. On this journey, you will be provided with tools, techniques, and assistance to empower you to connect and reconnect with yourself and your emotions and feelings in your mind, body, and spirit. Through a universal soul-centered process, you will be going through a lifelong transformation that will allow you to move forward with your endeavors and never look back if you dare. And for those of you that are interested, if you go to www.90dayascensionjourney or spiritualimageproductions.com, you'll find a copy or a picture of the book. You can click on that. That'll take you to a page that gives you information on this book, which I wrote several last year around April. And so anyhow, you can. It's mostly a supplement to the journey itself. A lot of people will be able to read it and be comfortable with that, and others may want to go ahead and do the journey. If you want to do the journey as well, of course you can contact me as well. So, and we have the 2017 MUFON Symposium. Excuse me, at www.mufonsymposium.com. The MUFON Symposium is the world's most respected meeting of the minds on the UFO phenomenon. From a scientific standpoint, there is no other event on Earth that even comes close. Come one, come all, and be immersed in our quest to unravel the mystery of the UFO, to be held at the JW Marriott in Las Vegas, Nevada, from the 21st to the 23rd of July of this year. We're back and here with Bill Schroeder and Jack Roth. So what I want to do again, and you've come on here before, Bill, and talked to us before, but I still want to go on and have you kind of give us a bio of who Bill Schroeder is, and how you got into to this UFO phenomenon stuff. Go ahead, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I was born in Buffalo, New York, but came to Florida when I was like 9 years old. So I consider Tampa, Florida my home. My daddy was a cop. My grandfather was in the OSS. I couldn't be a plumber. So I went into the military really for a vendetta. A good friend of mine had been killed in Vietnam. I dropped out of high school, went into the military, and they never did send me to Vietnam. But I wound up in Key West, Florida, and that's where I had my adventure with the UFO. And then after I got out of the military, I got into law enforcement, and of course, from that, I knew that I had to set on this information because as I progressed through law enforcement, my responsibilities got greater, and so did the cases. And last few years on law enforcement, I was major crimes and primarily homicide detective, and I didn't want to be sitting on the stand testifying in a homicide case and have some defense attorney come up and ask me if I've ever seen flying saucers. So I kind of had to set on that for a long time, and then after I retired and knew that I could come out, I did. And within the first few days, I actually told my story. I wound up on Coast to Coast AM with Linda Moulton Howe, and told my story and joined NICAP, and then I joined MUFON, and through fortunes, I ran into Jack, and I had a story to tell, and God bless him, Jack was able to do that, and we worked together, and to come out with a book, and that's how I got here.
Got it. Now, Jack, go ahead. You as well. Wherever you want to start.
Well, I guess I'll start how kind of I originally went down this rabbit hole of the paranormal. But in the mid-'90s, I'm a writer by trade. I'm a journalist. And I, by chance, happened to, I was in New Orleans, and again in the mid-'90s, I had gone to New Orleans just for a vacation. And I wound up spending a night at Haunted Plantation outside of Louisiana, one of the old plantation homes. And I took some photos, again, just by chance. I had taken some photos. I was always into photography, so I took these photos, and two of them came back with these literally full-form apparitions. So from that moment on, I was kind of sucked into the world of the paranormal. I had to show the photos to someone, so I went and met a parapsychologist and kind of met some PhDs and went over the photos and kind of learned more and more about it. Decided that I wanted to learn even more and kind of dig into all this stuff. And one thing led to another over the years. I spent 7 years researching at Gettysburg National Battlefield Park. I actually wrote a book about ghosts of Gettysburg. Did that, and then worked on, went out to Colorado to do some research on what our next project might be, and wound up getting involved in making and producing a documentary about an alien abductee. The case of the extraordinary Stan Romanek documentary, which was really an amazing experience. And so I started going to some events, and that's where I went to a conference in Sebring, Florida, about 4 years ago maybe, and I met Dennis, who is Bill's cousin, and I started talking to Dennis, and Dennis started telling me about this experience that he and Bill had in the 1960s down in South Florida. And I grew up in South Florida, Fort Lauderdale, so I was very familiar with the area. And I hadn't met Bill yet, but Dennis had showed me a pamphlet, this little kind of small little pamphlet that kind of was an overview of what had happened. I told Dennis, I'm like, this needs to be a bigger story. This needs to be a book, because this is an incredible story. And knowing there were credible military witnesses, and knowing that Bill had being a police officer and then an investigator, a private investigator, really dug into this. So there was a lot of information that was already there that just needed to kind of be put in book form. So eventually I called Bill, talked to him, eventually met him. I drove out to Tampa, and one thing led to another. We put the book together, and he provided me with the incredible information that he had. all his sources and research, and then I was able to talk to some other people, and then expand the book a little bit to talk more about the big picture issues that were associated with the book regarding nuclear missile bases, UFO involvement on these missile sites during the Cold War, military cover-up. So I spoke to several really great military witnesses and also some UFO experts, and voila, the book happened. So Bill and I are very happy that it came out the way it did. We're excited. We're really excited about the book.
Nice, nice. And so, now, are you planning on doing a movie out of this, or have you figured it out yet?
Bill, I think it would make a good movie. I think it would make a good. It's a fascinating story, and Bill could, he was the one who experienced it, so he would be better able to kind of talk about the intensity of that kind of a thing.
Well, there's a show that I do on this program called the Golden Age Psychic Show. There's a reason for that, and I'm sensing that maybe you might want to consider doing a movie out of this. Can't thank you very much, but that's one. So anyhow, so go ahead, Bill. What's your take on that?
Yeah, it wouldn't bother me at all. It would naturally need to be, have some drama put into it. I think it'd be, I think it would be a good story. I've never really thought that much about it. I tell it with gusto. I get really caught up in it. Like I told you earlier, we're approaching the 50th anniversary, and it's hard to believe those moments. Like every moment in your life that changed your life, assassinations or weddings or whatever, you remember every second of what happened, and that whole 4 hours. And if you added in the aftermath, the sighting of all the school kids up in Miami and all the military witnesses, yeah, there's a movie there. There's a story there that could probably be told, and you actually wouldn't need to add much excitement to it, I think.
I was going to say, I can add to the drama. I can come in with some kind of wrap around my head and blood on it. The aliens are coming. The aliens are coming. Why not? Sure, why not?
Well, I mean, you got phantom jets chasing you up. You got school kids that run out onto the playground. There's a UFO setting 10 feet off the ground. That's good video. I don't care. That's if you can reach.
Yeah, not to mention Bill, the Cuban MiG pilot who apparently died during the confrontation with one of these things.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean you got chapter after chapter through there. It was amazing, and I say, yeah, make a movie.
All right. You're ready. Well, so go ahead, Bill. Get us started. What's this unknown down situation all about? What's going on?
You want to recount the incident, or
however, whatever you want to put out there about the book, or from the book, or whatever you feel comfortable with. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was like I say. I was 17 years old. I wasn't really a UFO guy or flying saucer guy. I spent my time in drive-in theaters, but I didn't really think about things like that. I was a very serious radar operator. And, young people in the military, they take 18-year-old kids and they put them in charge of millions of dollars worth of equipment. And that's the same deal there. I was a young man who knew electronics, and when the Army found out about it, that's where they put me. And it was an amazing incident, and like I say, it was something that I carried with me my whole life. But one of the biggest memories, and I always tell everybody, this vehicle, these people, entities inside this vehicle, it was actually a close encounter of a third kind because we interacted with each other. I locked the radar on them and they reacted to it and they shut down my sights. I mean, we actually interacted. And what was amazing, the amazing moment of the whole thing was when I ran out of the control center and, you know, the launch crewman told me he'd see me fly over. And you've got a whole base full of military people that are just running around with their hair on fire, you know, because this whole missile defense site is just junk. You know, I mean, nothing's working. And Bill stood there looking up at the sky with a smile on my face because I realized I was in on the biggest secret ever. You know? I knew what I had tracked. I knew what I had painted with my radar. And I knew it wasn't from around here. So
now, Bill, how big was that base that you're talking about? How many people?
It was it's small base wise. The way air defense artillery batteries are, you have the control center, and then you have like same as artillery. You have Alpha battery, Bravo battery, Charlie battery, whatever, and each battery has weapons assigned to it, and they're dispersed over a wide area. So our base was, I don't know, I'm really bad on real estate, probably 10, 15 acres, I guess. So we had 24 ready missiles. We had 4 radars. We had a ready room which could sleep, you know, like 100 guys. And it was okay. It was a medium-sized military installation.
So you're saying maybe 400 or 500 people? Is that what we're talking about, or more?
No. I said it could sleep about 100 people at the most.
Oh, so there wasn't that many people there on the base then?
No. That night because we were on standby, there's probably 25 or 30 guys, and they were all in watching Batman probably.
Got it.
I was out in the BCC because it was cool and I had a free telephone service out there. So I was sitting in the BCC where it was cool, and I was talking to my cousin, and we always joked, you know, Dennis was up in the 644th up in Miami, and we'd get on the comm links and we could talk to each other for free. Because back then we didn't, you know, you didn't pick up your cell phone and call long distance. Long distance cost money back then. And so, you know, we were talking to this whole floor of student nurses in Miami, and that's where, you know, it was pretty, that's a pretty good situation. But that's how I wound up in that situation, you know. So, and it just so happened I was there by myself, and I had everything at my disposal to get involved.
Okay. And so you guys are talking, and what happens?
Yeah, we were talking, and it was about 10:30, and Dennis says, "I got to cut you guys off." He says, "Stay with me, Bill. I'll be right back." So Dennis shut down, and then I'm like, you know, he come back and he says, "We're tracking bogeys. It sounds like they're tracking bogeys that are coming into the area at high speed." And I also heard all this chatter on the comment about bogeys, and then immediately right away, Dennis and I have been playing practical jokes on each other since we were like old enough to walk. So right away I'm thinking about, oh, Dennis is jerking me around here. But it didn't work out that way. And then he said we've got 4 targets, and they came into the area over 5,000 miles an hour, and all I had to do, I just reached up and flipped the PAR into radiate, which is the pulse acquisition radar is the big radar that you see that's in all the movies where it's like the banana-shaped thing going around, and then you see the sweeps on the screen. It's the radar for movies and stuff. And so I switched on. Bang! I was painting 4 good targets north of me between the Keys and Florida, just at the very edge of my range. And I said, yes, I got 4 good targets. I'm painting them. And so we were watching them, and it wasn't shortly after that. It was clear to me that they were flying a staggered, sometimes diamond formation, a very loose formation, but the 4 of them were flying very tight formation. And what caught my attention really quick was the fact that they didn't bank. They when they turned, they would just change direction, which was really unusual. And they were doing just subsonic, probably around 450, 500 miles an hour. And like I told, I was at the symposium, I said, if you change direction at that speed, there's somebody in there, they're going to turn you into jello. People can't do that, So, and they would fly 30, 40 miles one direction, go south, 8, 10 miles, and go back. And it was immediately clear they were flying a grid pattern. They were either mapping or photographing or looking for something, because I'd seen the Coast Guard and other services do it so many times. So then I saw 4 what we call friendly fast movers. I don't know what they were. They were probably phantoms from Boca Chica, which was just 8 or 10 miles north of me. I saw them lift onto the scope, and I told Dennis, I said, we're going to know who they are in a minute, because I got 4 friendly fast movers headed your way. Fast movers meaning supersonic. When the friendlies got maybe 15, 20 miles north of Boca Chica, these targets just disappeared off the scope. And I told Dennis, I said, they're gone, I've lost them. And he said, yeah, they're gone here too.
Now, let me ask you this real quick, Bill. Are you talking about the F-4G Phantom Fighter weasels?
Yeah, I believe they were. See, I had no communication with the fighters. They're a completely different network. I knew the F-4s were there at Boca Chica, Marine F-4s. So that's an assumption on my part. They were 4 supersonic small aircraft that were northbound, and they almost had to be phantoms. But I never seen them, and I never heard them on the air.
Got it.
So I don't know.
Because I worked on those jets back in the when I was in the Air Force years ago, and which were the same ones that went to the Gulf War crisis, and then they retired them.
Yeah, Vietnam era fighters.
Yep.
Phantom.
Yep.
Probably one of the best fighters ever made. I guess they just retired them. I heard they just retired the last Phantom a couple of months ago.
Oh, really?
But yeah. But anyway, they were gone, and the Phantoms. I don't know what the reserves are on them, but I know they cooked up a lot of fuel because they were running with afterburners up there. So they stayed in the area for a while. And they came back, and the minute that they got back 20 miles from Boca Chica, these targets came back, and they came back between weeks, which is really amazing, And at the time, build the scope though, based on my knowledge of my equipment, the only way to do that was to either go straight up or straight down in the like 1.5 seconds that it took for the sweep to get around. So they either had to go into suborbital or go into the Gulf of Mexico between sweeps. That's something that always amazed me. Of course, I found out 35 years later that they were probably cloaking. They were just disappearing. But
wow.
So anyway, they came back, and then Dennis said we've got jets coming from Air Force. We got Air Force jets coming into the area, and they disappeared again. So this cat and mouse game went on for almost 4 hours. And the wonderful thing about my sighting is, although I've never seen, I envy people that have been in their yard or have been out in the woods and have seen an actual physical ship where they could say, yeah, that's a spaceship. Not like this guy, but they've seen these triangles. But the advantage of mine is, although I didn't see it, was that I had time to analyze what I was looking at. I had almost 4 hours there, and you keep going through possibilities in your mind. Well, it could be this. Nope, that's not right. And we have all sorts of anomalies when you're a scoped up. You've got temperature inversions. You got what's called running rabbits. You got all these, and I'm going through everything, and eliminating. Because once we, Doppler radar has a habit of they'll lock on anything that's moving fast. We once locked on a Greyhound bus that was coming down US 1. We locked on his fan. But so I went through all these and I said, no, these are solid targets I'm taking. These are vehicles. These are being controlled. And there was no doubt. So after that time, and I'm getting frustrated because because I have all these assets at my disposal that these guys are just out of the range of. I've got what's called an illuminator radar. I've got an ROR. I've got these other radars that are used for targeting and target identification. But these turkeys were just out of range, and I couldn't bring those assets into play. And for some reason, I don't know whether they knew I was painting them and they wanted to see what the deal was, or whether one of them wanted to do something else. I don't know. One of them broke off and started heading straight towards south, and I got excited, and I'm bringing up the illuminator, which is the targeting radar, and this and it's really funny. Under my breath, I'm still wearing a headset. I'm talking to my cousin was still listening to me, but I'm talking to myself too. And the last thing you heard me say was, "This is Earth versus the flying saucers for real," you know. so this guy gets close enough, and I bring the cursor, and if there's any scope up stuff, it'll know what I'm talking about. You aim the illuminator with a knob that brings the cursor around, and you can see the trace of the illuminator. And I flip it into radiate. And I was so proud of myself. You know, I said, "I got you, sucker, now." Well, it didn't work out that way for me. He hit us with what in the business is called ECM, it's electro countermeasures. And he just basically turned us off. He shut down the whole site, right down to the generator level. I mean, we were dead. We were dead in the water. And I ran out of the BCC because I was sitting in the dark, and I ran out the door, and I met my launcher supervisor, my launcher sergeant, and he said, "We seen it, Bill." And I said, "What was it?" He said, "It looked like a meteor, but it was in level flight." And he said, "What was it?" I said, "I don't know, but I've been tracking him and his buddies all night, you know." And then he looked at me with this funny look on his face, you know, like, "What do you mean?" So and then, you know, all the other information I got came later. You know, I came forward, and I went to Coast on AM, and Dennis and I were both on there. You know, we told our story, and Linda Moulton Howell had mentioned about the MiG that got shot down in Cuba, and for some reason I didn't really connect it until much later, a couple of years later, I went to a MUFON meeting, and Kathleen Martin, who everybody knows, she's a world famous ufologist, she was at the meeting, and she said, "I got somebody who wants to talk to you about this." She said, you know, so I said, "Okay, well, here's my phone number," you know. And it was either that night or the following night, I get this call from Canada. The caller, he said New Brunswick, Canada, or whatever, I can't, Nova Scotia. And he says, "Is this Bill Schroeder?" And I said, "Yeah," and I know who this is. I mean, it was Stanton Friedman. I recognized his voice instantly, you know.
Yeah, I just interviewed them a few weeks ago. I think back in November. Yeah.
This guy's like a god in ufology. You know? And the fact that he called Bill, you know, right away, I was real pleased about that. So we went through this. We sat there, oh my gosh, for a couple of hours, talking about the possibilities, and then, you know, and then I got some other people involved in this conversation, the avionics people, and it looked like, you know, Stan Friedman had always taken a lot of flack because of this. He found out about this MiG destruction, and of course the debunkers always say, "Well, why would they use a ray gun and shoot down a MiG-21? You know, there's no logic to that." And after we realized what happened was the same thing happened to the MiG that happened to me. He locked on them because his wingman said, "We're locked down, we're going to fire." And right after he locked on him, his aircraft disintegrated. Well, it disintegrated because it was no longer an aircraft. They hit him with the same ECM that they hit me with, except this poor sucker, he was flying at supersonic speed, and he couldn't leave, you know. That thing, he lost, you know, he probably lost every electrical system in there, his avionics and everything, and that MiG-21 just came apart, you know.
Wow.
They're great fighters, but they're not put together real well as it is. You know, they got a bad habit of, from what I researched, if you put, you know, you'll be flying and kick it in the afterburner, it'll blow up, you know. So the poor guy, he never had a chance. You know, his objections, he probably didn't even work. You know, he probably couldn't even get out of that thing. So then, you know, the rest of it is, like I say, history. I wrote up this little incident over Miami, and like I told everybody at the symposium, it was more like a pamphlet found at a bus station. You know, it was my little book about the story, and Jack seen it, and then people. In the meantime, all these other witnesses. I had the military UFO project, which I started so the military people could report to me and tell me things, you know, without being, you know, any press or anything. And I'm getting all these calls from these old scope dopes who had similar incidents to mine. Some of them were really better than mine, you know. And one of them was even a dying declaration. That's the one that I will always remember. This guy, he said, he contacted MUFON. He said, but I'm only going to talk to a scope dope. I'm only going to talk to a guy who was part of NORAD. And they gave him to me.
All right.
So I called him, and he was a cool old guy. I said, I'm calling you. He said, so you worked with NORAD? I said, yeah, I did. You know, and he had me explain the whole system. You know, how does this work? How does that work? And he, you know, first thing he asked me was SAGE. You know, what is SAGE? I said, semi-automatic ground environment. He says, well, that's easy. How does it work? So I had to explain the whole SAGE system. And what he was doing, he was checking.
Exactly right.
I talked to him, and he says, okay, you're a scope though. He says, I've been carrying a secret with me my whole life. I'm terminally ill, and I don't want to take it with me. I want to share this story. And when I recorded it, I even told him, I said, so do you realize this is being recorded? He said, yes. And I said, and you realize this is a dying declaration? She says, yes. That's evidence in court. That's evidence in court. This man, and he told us about this amazing incident over Florida in Alabama where F-106 fighters, their radars were shut down. And I mean, but the whole book is full of these people, these wonderful people that served their country and were told to shut up and have carried these secrets with them, and now they're ready to talk. And when we were at the symposium, I had scope dopes coming up to me, and I was so honored that they would say, you're Bill Schroeder. Yeah, I want to share my story with you. It was great.
Nice.
And powers, whatever it is, fate or whatever, sent Jack into my life so this story could be told correctly.
So now, go ahead.
It's an amazing work. It's an amazing work.
So now, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and take a break. Play some music. We're going to send out love, blessings, healing, angels of light and love to all the ufologists, to all the people that are working with UFOs, aliens, who have been abducted, who have anything to do with aliens or UFOs, to the President of the United States, to his family and friends, to, of course, to all of us here on the phone lines, the chat rooms, all our family and friends, all the people that take care of us in the places of residence where we live at that take care of us. Anybody else that you guys want to add to that? Well, don't speak at once, you know. We're going to play a song called, go ahead.
Yeah, I missed something here. What do you want again? I'm sorry.
We're going to play a song called Song of the Heart by Cheryl Angela from her album, Coming Home to Love. And we're going to go ahead and send out love and light and blessings and healings of and angels of light and love to all these people. Is there anybody that you want to add to that?
I'm sorry, you broke up, Dan.
Jack, do you want Jack, Bill? Do you guys want to send out love and light to anybody?
Oh no, yeah, got no messages for anybody. No.
Okay. Jack?
Yeah, I couldn't hear that either. No, we're good. I'm good.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and send out love, blessings, healings, angels of light, and love to everyone else in need and concern. We will be back. Song of the Heart by Cheryl Angela from her album Angels Are Coming Home to Love.
Andrew, I'm sorry, that's getting really garbled there.
Oh, okay. I'll switch this out. Oops. So we're back. This is Andrew Aloha live out of Flagstaff, Arizona. The Spiritual Image Productions on Blog Talk Radio and FreeConferencing.com and Ustream, establishing and maintaining right relationships through human values. We're back with Bill Schroeder and Jack Roth out of Florida. That they just came out with a book called Unknown Down. I don't know what the rest of the title is, but anyhow, for Bill was ex-military, ex-police, private investigator, and now a MUFON state section director in Tampa Bay. And Jack Roth is a journalist who embarked upon the paranormal, going to a haunted house program, I believe, and then get more and more involved into the paranormal and eventually with MUFON. So Bill Schroeder had an encounter of the third kind, I believe that's what you call it, in 1967 when he was in the military. He was a radar man. Was that your position, Bill? A radar guy?
Yeah, it's a fire control operator, which is a radar operator.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and then as he was out there talking with his cousin Dennis, who was a ways down at another base, they encountered some bogies, 4 bogies that were detected on the radar. So they tracked them and for 4 hours, and then eventually Bill Schroeder's supervisor comes out and says, "Yeah, we seen those bogies as well." So what else is going on, Bill? What's going on? Well, first of all, Bill, had you ever seen any UFOs or ghosts or had run into any paranormal activity prior to this event?
Oh no, me no.
Never. And
no. Of course, and nothing really since. You know, this was a one timer.
Once in a lifetime experience. I got it.
And I think that really seeing a UFO for most people is like hitting the lottery. I think that it's something that's a life-changing experience and it's very unique.
Yeah, exactly.
Some people, for some reason or another, see a lot of them, but for most people, I think it's a very unique thing.
Got it. So Jack, and what did you get out of this? You talked to Bill, you met Bill, and then so what's going on? How did you guys get inspired to write this book together, and what else did you add to it besides Bill's story?
Well, obviously the story was there, and it is an incredible story by a credible witness. But here's the thing that, what people need to understand about this is first of all, it's 1967, and this occurs in Key West, in South Florida, in Key West, Homestead, Miami, where this is happening over nuclear missile sites. And you have to realize that a few years before that was the Cuban Missile Crisis. So,
now I got to tell you this before I forget, and before we move on. Now, the Cuban Missile Crisis, I don't know if you guys know this, but we literally, came within minutes of destroying ourselves. And literally, we had divine intervention take place, and that was the only reason, probably the biggest reason that we didn't kill ourselves. I don't know if you guys know that, but I just thought I'd tell you that. But go ahead.
Yeah, right, exactly. We were as close as we've ever been to a total nuclear war. It really would have been a nuclear holocaust. But so people like Bill, when these things, they were on alert. They were on alert because first of all, in 1967 to begin with was basically the heart of the Cold War. So anything that was going on in the skies in and around Canada and the United States, and certainly that's why NORAD has always been so important. We had to be on top of it. So now here you are in Key West and again Homestead and Miami, and these things are out. They're Bill's tracking these objects that are doing whatever they want in our airspace, pretty much. So it could have easily have turned into a disaster from the standpoint if someone would have thought, oh, it's Soviets, or it was an enemy, some kind of a communist, attack. There could have been a nuclear war. easily. So that was fascinating to me, and I said, you know, Bill, this is you take this, you take your eyewitness testimony, you take Dennis's eyewitness testimony, then you start piecing all of this together. And what you do is you have that story, then you have the bigger story of what was going on in 1967. And then what I really wanted to do was take that and expand it to the entire United States from the standpoint of these things, these encounters with these objects, with these UFOs, were happening all over missile bases, all over the United States at this time.
Really?
And there were other famous cases, yeah, absolutely. I actually interviewed Robert Salas for this book because I wanted to get his story regarding what had happened out west when he was in a very similar situation with with another missile base, and then there was something happened at Minot, and when I kept digging and digging, and again, Bill has done some phenomenal research, so there was great stuff for me to go with and to look into a little further. We see this pattern develop of the unknown objects, unidentified flying objects, flying over missile bases, and then in several cases making them, toying with them, so to speak, you know, doing what they did to Bill and basically rendering them useless, you know, putting them offline, so to speak. And you know, that's a serious issue when all of a sudden your missiles are offline, something takes them offline.
Right.
That, you know, that's DEFCON, you know, whatever level. I mean, that's serious. So what I wanted to do was establish that this is part of a bigger story that was going on during this time. And then also, I wanted to talk to experts and people who have been researching this kind of thing and talk about what it could have been. What was this? And it still goes on today. This happens. These kinds of things are still happening today. It's been going on a long time. In the 1960s, there was a serious UFO flap in 1967, and in South Florida, it was what we call a UFO flap. So it started on that night with Bill and Dennis and the things that they experienced. And then, like Bill said, there was a school with school children, and dozens of school children saw this object, and school teachers down in Miami, and all these other witnesses that were in South Florida at the time were seeing these objects in the sky. So there was this, you know, again, I wanted to tell this story because it's an important story. People need to know this. And most importantly to me, it was the witnesses. It was people like Bill, people who were these credible, you know, patriotic, you know, like really fine Americans was really what I call them, because they were out there during a time that was pretty intense, and they were doing their jobs, and they were good at their jobs, and they followed orders, and a lot of times they were told to shut up about it. And that's the part that is also a big part of the book, is that the pattern is these things happen, and then in one way, shape, or form, it's covered up. Whether people are moved around, the people who witness these things in the military are then transferred to different places around the world. They're in many cases told to never talk about it. In some cases, even threatened not to talk about it. So it's a pattern, and that's what I wanted to get across to people, was that, look, this is a big story. This is part of something that's important, and that's, to me, is why I wanted to get involved. And after meeting Bill right away, I'm like, this is a good guy. This is a guy who is down to earth. He's as credible a witness as you could ever get when it comes to paranormal phenomena and UFO phenomena. And, you know, and again, I just wanted to help to get the story out to inform people so they might even do more research into this. And that was my goal all along.
Got it. So you're saying that this was not an isolated event. This was going on everywhere because of the Cuban Missile Crisis and all the stuff that was going on, all the volatility that was going on, and there were these ships playing with people all over the planet to get their minds off the violence or whatever. Is it safe to say that?
No, I think it's a valid theory to say that they were very concerned. These objects, these UFOs, if they were piloted by alien beings or whatever, were very concerned very interested in what was going on in our military bases, and especially with our nuclear missiles. And it's, you know, when you look at the UFO phenomena in general, you know, 1945, we dropped the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and then at that point is when really you start hearing about UFO sightings. There have been UFO sightings since the beginning of man, but after 1945, when we actually used nuclear weapons to destroy cities and people, is when UFOs started to be seen. That was when the modern day UFO phenomenon really began. You have to ask the question, why? You know, why is it right at that point where it really became something that they were, you know, whatever they are extremely drawn and interested in our nuclear capability. So I think that they're making sure we don't blow ourselves up. I guess
Exactly.
not divine intervention. I think they're part of that divine intervention.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. And again, if we ever came close to destroying ourselves in the history of mankind, that was the closest we've ever come. Was during the Cuban Missile Crisis, and literally there was divine intervention, including these UFOs and whatever else. Now, I have a guest here, spiritual fashionista, and I don't know if that person wants to come on and ask these questions themselves, but they're asking. Well, first of all, now, Bill, you said that was the only encounters of paranormal activity you've ever had. And what about you, Jack? Have you had any other encounters of activity, or have you had any encounters of paranormal activity other than the pictures that you took from that investigation, that house haunting or whatever?
Well, yeah. Once that happened, I started to investigate, research more, and I started to go to places and do investigations of. At first, it was all about ghosts and hauntings, and I wanted to do it in a very objective way. I wanted to do it as a scientific way as possible, and I wanted to get. It was all about eyewitness testimony and corroborative testimony, and I think that's really important when it comes to anything paranormal. So yeah, when I was going to these places, I've had experience in New Orleans and Gettysburg, just profound experiences that change your life. But when it comes to UFOs, oddly enough, and I've always been interested in UFOs since I was a kid, but I never had seen one, never had really any experiences. And then we started to do this documentary about the abductee, and some things started to happen, some very strange things started to happen to me and my two partners who were involved in the case. But it was, oddly enough, and this is I think it's ironic, but I don't think there's this coincidence. At the conference where I met Dennis, Bill's cousin, and I found out about Bill's case. It was in Sebring, Florida. And if anything, everyone, for people who aren't from Florida, or even are from Florida, they don't know where Sebring is. It's in the middle of the state, really, literally in the middle of nowhere. And there was a conference. That's where the conference was. So it was at that conference, the night before the conference started. It was a Friday evening where I was outside with a couple other people, and we were just sitting there talking. It was nighttime. The sky's very clear because, again, it's in the middle of the state, so there really aren't any lights to make visibility any worse. It's pretty good. So, I looked up, we all looked up, and literally right above our heads was a triangular shape UFO. And I got to tell you, I had my whole life had never seen one. I was always so jealous of people who had seen things. And at this night, I actually saw a triangular-shaped craft. It was silent, stealthy. That's the word I use. It was total stealth. I mean, it was incredible. And over time, I've had these incredible experiences. But I don't think these are coincidences. I really don't. I think there's a reason people meet people. I think there's a reason I met Dennis, and then subsequently there's a reason I met Bill. And I don't think Bill and I are done. I think there's some other good stories that we need to tell. So, so basically that's, hopefully that answers your question. But,
and I'm asking this on behalf of a spiritual fashionista from the chat room. Now, and now she, I think it's a she, but yeah, that, absolutely. If you want to call in spiritual fashionista and ask these questions yourself, then that's even better. So we can hear you at least, you can ask the questions in the way that you want to ask them. So absolutely, if you want to call. So we'll wait a couple minutes, and then I'll ask these other questions. I'll let spiritual fashionista ask them themselves, theirself, and then we'll go from there. So one of them is, and are you still doing film documentaries and all that stuff, or what's going on with that?
Yeah, we're my partners in that endeavor. We're looking for our next documentary to do, and also actually Bill and I had talked about a couple other possible stories to write about. But I'm always because what happens is, and you know this, and I'm sure the people who are listening know this. Once you get involved in this, it takes you down different paths, and you start to research one thing, and then something else. You go down another rabbit hole, I like to call them, and you just find out more and more. And there's so many incredible stories to be told by incredible witnesses and good people who have literally, I think, a lot of times have had to suffer because they've been forced to be silent about it, or they felt it was their duty to be silent about it.
Yeah,
and that's in the case. Yeah, and that's, I think, in the case of Bill and Dennis and those guys who just, they were good soldiers and they did their job. But as time went on, and Bill will tell you this, you get to the point where you're like, wait a minute, it wasn't right. There's something wrong with that, and that's really what I think over time motivated Bill. So, there's always projects. We're always working on stuff, but we're just excited about this book because it really just came out not too long ago, and we just want to get the word out because we think it's just an important story. Bill's a great speaker. Anyway, if you go to the conference, you have to hear him. I heard
right
at the MUFON conference, and he was incredible. He just nailed it. I mean, he was just so awesome, and I think that's the kind of thing that people really need to hear.
Exactly.
So I would highly recommend watching. If there's Bill talking about this anywhere, go see it. It's really good.
Got it. So we got area code 908. Spiritual fashionista on the line, on the air. Aloha, you're on the air, area code 908.
Good evening. Hi, Andrew. Hi, Bill. Hi, Jack.
Hello.
Now, who are we speaking to, and where are you located at?
Oh, New Jersey.
New Jersey. What's your first name? Caroline. So, Caroline, and you're a spiritual fashionista in the chat room?
Yeah.
Okay. So, no, you're going to have to speak louder because we can barely hear you. So, what question did you have for Bill or Jack or both?
Well, yeah. You're a journalist, and you seem to do a lot of research. And I'm wondering, why haven't you, with that research, right, which are true stories, and even if they weren't, why haven't you written books and novels and sci-fi novels if you don't want, like, I'm a literary assistant, and I have a client who, at the age of 60, she started getting involved, not of her doing, but it got involved with the ET, the good ET. And on the trend, if you know what is that as well, she has done a lot of different things that, just because we don't see it, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, right? So she's interesting, and she wrote a book for 20 years. She's been working with these good ETs, and it's a lot of stuff. So she's written this book. It's not out yet because she's still, it's still out with the publisher. So I haven't sold it yet. But I was wondering, now with this one, I was wondering why you seem to have so much material. Why don't you write a book about, even if it's one...
Well, again, this is a book. Unknown Down is a book, and I did write the book about this, and then I also wrote another book about the ghost soldiers of Gettysburg, and they take time. Gettysburg took 7 years of research, and I really and again, these are not fiction. So I'm writing more journalistic style, interviewing people, kind of nonfiction books. And then this book took a couple years to really put together correctly. And now it's time for the next. So I have 2 books, and I plan on doing many more.
Okay.
So I guess, yeah, so the answer would be, yeah, I am. That's my goal. My goal is to either document in one way or the other, whether it's a book or a documentary, to get it out there. And all of these books are available, all the documentaries available, and so yeah, it's definitely that's exactly what we're doing.
Got it.
You self-publish, no, or
Go ahead, Bill.
Well,
publishing or
yeah, this was self-published. We went to with Unknown Down. We did the self-publishing route because of timing. A lot of times with Ghost Soldiers of Gettysburg, I went through a publisher, Llewellyn, and Worldwide, which is a big publisher. And the reason, and it took a couple of years for that. It takes time. Even after you write the book and the book is finished, it can take a year and a half for the book to come out. And we didn't want that to happen with Unknown Down because of the timing. Bill, I mean, Bill wanted to really tell his story. He had some really big conferences he was going to go to, and we really wanted to have the book available. So we just self-published that one, and we did a good job. We did it the right way, quality through and through.
Yeah.
But that's why we did the self-publish with this one.
Yeah,
Okay.
Carolyn,
Can
if I
give
may.
you a little marketing tool? Oh, yes.
Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, there are ufologists out there who turn out a book every month, and I'm not going to go through the names, but they have a new book every month. And if you look at the books, they're all very much about it like each other. When Jack took on this project, he just faded away. and for a while I was really concerned, and I know I was probably badgering the poor guy. I was like, my wife was like, what happened to Jack? I said, I don't know, I hope he didn't lose interest, and he just put this story together, and then, like you said, he's done all these additional interviews, and this is different. This is a work. This is a labor of love. This is not something that's mass produced to make a few bucks. And you can see the difference. Because I read these other ufologist books. You read this, you can feel the difference. I mean, and I can say this because I didn't write it. This book grabs you. I told the story, and still, when I started reading this book, it grabbed me, and the additional work that it was just fantastic. It was just fantastic, and I said the same thing at the symposium that it's easy to paint a house, but only a few people get to paint a Michelangelo. I'll put it that way. All right,
I appreciate that. That's great.
Now, Carolyn, how did you hear about us? How did you hear about this show tonight?
I know you. Well, I know you, Ansel, because I've been on your show in the past, a couple of times. I've called in the past. And so today, when I looked, to see who was on your show Sunday night, and I'm doing stuff, I'm working. So I saw this, I said, oh, this is just up my alley. I love and I love true stories. And one thing about if I could give you have a book trail on YouTube done yet. So that's where you want to go as well. You got to do all of this. You got to do Instagram. And then, if I could give you another, you can't go to the major media because they'll make fun. We already know that. But now we have alternative media that people are tuning in. And if you want, I can give you a list of that and I could help you because I promote people, not only in my literary business, but I love to promote people. And this is somebody that came from Wall Street. I worked on Wall Street for 35 years. But I started my own business, branding, I just saw my mission. So I love to promote things. You know what happened to that Dr. Dreamer and the movie Serious? You know how it just took off, slowly? I think you got to think that way as well. Just spread out the word. You're doing these interviews on Blog Talk Radio, and there's major radio stations across the nation that will take interviews like yours. because I love this. One of them, what is that gentleman's name? That's George, he has an alternative radio, and he's like, well known.
You're talking about Coast to Coast, Greg Norrie?
You got it. You got it.
Yeah, they did. Bill has been on his show before and been interviewed by him already.
Good.
Yeah.
And the title, do you like the Unknown Down? The title of the title, just like a hint, getting it out there, the title. You gotta do something with that, or add something to it. You gotta add something to it.
I take the blame. I take the blame for that.
Think about it.
Well, I tell you what, Carolyn, you are welcome to give these guys your phone number, or I'll have them give them your contact information, and then you guys can connect if you want, and go from there. What's that?
Yes. Oh, that's beautiful.
Jack, do you want to give her their information, or vice versa?
Yeah, how would we do that, off air, or?
Yeah. Well, you can do it here if you want. That's fine. You want to give her your information? Just an email address is probably a good idea.
Email. If you want.
Yeah, that's fine.
You don't have to.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. If you have a pen, I'll give it to you real quick. It's J as in Jack, Roth, R-O-T-H, 488, so the number's 488, at gmail.com. jroth488 at gmail.com. Absolutely, I'd love to talk to you, so just send me an email and we'll go from there.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Carolyn, my
email. Oh my God.
My email is so easy if you forget it. It's MUFONman at gmail.com.
I love it. That's beautiful. That's very creative, by the way. That's beautiful. Maybe that's
your title
of your book. Something steady.
I couldn't believe it when I sat down. I couldn't believe it when I registered for Gmail and I put that name in and it took it. I almost passed out.
Well, thank you for stopping by, Carolyn. We're going to go ahead and finish this up, and we'll be in touch. Thank you. Aloha.
Yeah, thank you, Carolyn. The title directly relates to the book. Trust me, you'll see when we talk.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. Thanks.
So anyhow, we got about 17 minutes left, and I remember earlier that you said that you were doing some kind of an event coming up pretty soon. What's that all about, Bill?
I'm doing some Skype meetings. I've been doing some local presentations. They were gonna invite me to a UFO festival up in the Catskills, but they had filled their agenda. But I'm gonna do a presentation up in Missouri. I believe it's May the 7th or 17th. I don't know if on my calendar, but I have nothing major coming up. I'm really head over heels in a lot of investigation right now.
Yeah, you were talking about that earlier. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm always getting more information on the unknown down, the incident over Miami. That continues to come in. That's mostly from my friends in NICAP, God bless them. And I still get military witnesses. And then we've got this new barbell case that just fell in my lap November the 4th. We've got this filament material that actually was observed by, super credible witnesses. So there's no doubt that this incident happened. These witnesses watched this 25 to 30 inch metallic barbell moving across the sky and joined 12 others and was either generating or somehow this filament material that's commonly referred to as angel hair was just spewing out of these things. And although angel hair has been associated with UFOs a lot in the past, they always see a UFO and then find the angel hair, or they find the angel hair and then they see a UFO. In this case, the witnesses actually watched this material being generated from or coming from these barbell-shaped ships. And I've already sent them off to 2 labs. They're similar to spider silk. I got the lab reports back. Just the last one was yesterday, and but they're not spider silk. And there's absolutely no contamination to them. And it's an amazing case, and it's just getting cranked up. It's probably going to wind up with a return to Coast AM. They're already talking to me about it. It's just an amazing case. And
so now the hairs, what did they come out to the lab test? What did they come out to being or not being? Or
the lab test, they ran what's called an FTIR test, where they bombard it with infrared light, and then they look at the spectrum, and the spectrum can analyze the various items inside the material. And it's similar to spider silk, but it's different than spider silk. It looks organic, but it's not. It doesn't appear that it was made by spiders. And unless spiders know how to fly, I know they didn't make this anyway, because the source of the information is absolutely incredible. We do know, I had long ago researched the fact that, I've always been into the electromagnetic drive of UFOs, if you introduce a very strong electromagnetic field, you get an envelope of what's called plasma. And plasma in the atmosphere will often create these filaments. And I think that what we're seeing, what we've got here, is a byproduct of these devices. I think it's just a byproduct of their technology.
Are you saying a byproduct of plasma? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah. This is Bill's just shooting in the dark here based on my research so far, that I think that they were probably using electromagnetic drive, because as these things accelerated, as they started climbing altitude, when they accelerated, this stuff it was just spewing out of them. When they first seen them, they were just kind of drizzling them, but as they accelerated, this stuff was just, the sky was full of this stuff. So
what's their purpose? What do they do? What's the deal with them?
Oh, Lord knows. You got a 25-inch barbell-shaped device, and it was joined by more than 12 other devices before they started rising into the sky. Maybe some kind of mapping, maybe some kind of surveying. Who knows what they were doing? I'm sure they were probably some kind of remote-controlled device that was serving some purpose. But my goodness, these people are just so far ahead of us, we could only guess. But
come on, Bill. I thought you were the expert here now. What's up with that program?
Hey, in ufology, there is no expert. A lot of people say they're experts. We're all just shooting dark.
Right.
We're all just shooting in the dark. I still use a storyboard. I put my storyboard up and I look at it, and usually I get some kind of an idea. But on this one, forget it. I have no idea. I know one thing. I know that they came from this barbell-shaped UFO. I know that based on the witness credibility. I know that the material is not spider web. It's very similar to spider web molecular, but it's not spider web. And the additional testing is going to cost me just south of $1,000. So I'm probably going to put a GoFundMe site up to try to.
Oh, right. Yeah, exactly.
I just can't afford it. It's nothing that I want to turn over to a large UFO organization, because I don't want to lose control over the investigation.
Got it.
And that's where I'm at. But it should be pretty. It's amazing already. I don't know where it's going to go, but it's amazing already.
Interesting. Now are both of you attending the MUFON, the 2017 MUFON symposium in Las Vegas?
Yeah, no, probably not. I can't afford it.
Yeah, Jack.
Yeah, I'm still up in the air on that. Alejandro Roth is one of the people who puts it on. Watching it come out there and just to have a table and with the books and everything, and I'm just trying to get it into my schedule. I know it's coming up, so
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll see. I might make a last minute decision on that.
It's the 21st to the 23rd of July, I believe. And if you guys show up there, then I'll see you there, of course. Now, Jack, what do you got on your plate? Anything coming up? Anything going on with you? Any projects or whatever?
Well, yeah, we're again in the documentary front. We're looking at a couple of different ideas of where to go next with the documentary, and also with books. I've actually been working with Chase Klotsky a little bit recently, because one of the things that one of those rabbit holes I went down during the document when I was doing research on the documentary and doing the documentary was the whole idea of hybridization programs and hybrid children, and some of the people who are abducted, in particular women who are literally get pregnant, and then overnight they're not anymore.
Exactly.
And it's a pattern. So we're looking into perhaps doing something on that and really doing a lot of research and try to do the groundwork on that to try to see how to develop that story and kind of put the pieces of that story together. So, and then Bill and I have spoken, and we need to catch up. I know, Bill, but you and I need to talk about a couple of really good ideas that we talked about, and perhaps to start another book. So, yeah, I'm always looking at stuff, and so there is stuff on the horizon for sure.
Got it. So we got about 8 minutes left. Is there anything else you guys haven't told us about that you want to tell us about or put out there or whatever?
Well, Bill, I'd like to just say one thing, and first of all, this was a great project because I really enjoyed working with Bill, and it really made my job easier because Bill is such a great researcher, and I mean, it's in his blood. Obviously, it's what he's done his whole life, and he really did a great job finding out a lot of what was going on around this story. I mean, Bill obviously had his personal story to tell. Dennis, his cousin, is also very close with him, had his story to tell. But then to develop everything that was going on around it. What else was going on around it? Starting with South Florida, okay, and mostly, what was going on in Homestead? What was going on at the school? What was going on with all these other sightings at the time? So I think, honestly, I know I say it in the book, but a lot of these gentlemen who came forward, these ex-military guys, they put a lot on the line. They're putting a lot on the line coming forward, even after all these years later. And there are other military people today who are active military people who are dealing with this. They're having these experiences, but they cannot talk about it. And they're told not to talk about it. And again, in some cases, it's threatening, very, very threatening. You are not to talk about this ever, not even to your wife, no one. And there's Leavenworth. You can go to Leavenworth for 20 years if you do talk, because it's national security. So people like Bill's very modest, but the bottom line is it takes a lot of courage to kind of start coming out with this stuff. And the whole point of the book, from my standpoint, was A, to tell the story, an important story, and B, to hopefully encourage other military eyewitnesses to come forward and tell their stories, because this is too important. This is for mankind. Mankind needs to know this. It can't just be a secret that only a couple people know about. It's for everyone. It's for humanity. And that's what needs to happen. And that's all I have to say. I just wanted to get that point across.
Got it. And that's another good point. We were talking the other day, and people can go on to the MUFON, MUFON.com website and make a report anonymous, I believe. And they can tell all the whole story and never and be anonymous and never have to come forward publicly. Is that correct, Bill?
Okay, there is a section that's part of the problem with the new CMS, and if I'm stepping out of line here, I'll probably get kicked in the head tomorrow. But one of the problems is you do have to put contact information in there, and when you give contact information, then you're not anonymous anymore. That's
well, exactly right.
So an investigator can follow up on it, and hopefully they'll, put into the new system like an information only type report where people can provide you with information and just say, hey, here's what happened, and you take it and run with it, and don't call me, I'll call you.
Exactly.
That's pretty much, that's why the military UFO site is, and it's still up. If you're a military person and you want to report a UFO and you don't want to leave anything behind, militaryufo.org. That's run by me. No one ever sees the responses. They come to me. I use the responses to build a database, and I will never know who you are. So I verify the information by checking your report against other reports. That's why I use corroborating evidence to verify your data. So, that's something that they are working on, though. They're God love them. MUFON is doing so many things and trying to do so many things at the same time. They got MUFON TV they're going with, and we're going to go live in Florida. We're going to be streaming live MUFON meetings on the internet starting tomorrow night. And MUFON is rebuilding their entire database reporting system, so it should look pretty phenomenal when they're done.
Oh, nice. Now, are you guys is that free or is there a fee for that for tomorrow night?
The streaming, tomorrow night, that's free. Morgan has sent the information out. I think it's a test bed right now. I don't know who he sent that out to, but the idea is to get as much information out to the public as we can. And that again is a Florida MUFON project. But
I'd be interested in checking that out if you want to send me the address or the information. I'd be interested.
Yeah, I will tell Morgan your interest and get you involved in that. So it should be pretty good. And again, it's in beta mode. It's brand new. It's something we're trying out. It's Morgan's baby.
Got it. Okay. All right. So anyhow, I want to thank all of you for stopping by. Anything else, real quick? I got 2 minutes. A website you want to put out? Go ahead.
Yeah, just for me, it's an honor to be here anytime, and it's good to talk to you. It was great to talk to Jack. I haven't talked to him for a while, so it's nice to hear his voice. And doggone it, thank everybody that had questions. And send me an email, mufonman@gmail.com. And we need to do the topic.
That's right. And if you're interested in getting the book, it's on Amazon.com. Just go to Amazon.com and type in unknown down, and it'll come up.
Yeah, got it. All right, I want to thank both of you. I want to thank Carolyn also for stopping by. Everyone else for stopping by. Again, you can go to Amazon.com and Google unknown down. And if anything else, Jack Roth and Bill Schroeder. If it does, if you're having a hard time, and you can purchase the book from there. All of you have a God-Goddess week. Be the love that you are, always have been, and always will be. Aloha.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.